Let's play that game when we've got a little more time to spare, he rasped as he turned over the deck of cards. You've got enough on your plate as it is. He had a point, not that I liked it. You know, I thought for a moment that, when I left here, I'd have fewer questions than when I arrived. I added a mental stomp in my hoof. I wonder if little Pip wants to trade. I'll go fight brain-reading monsters, and she can deal with all this mystery horse shit. Not like there was much in my brain worth reading anyway. You ought to know better, he muttered, tilting his hat up. You sure you want to do this, Blackjack? That ghoul doesn't deserve your spit, let alone mercy. Was I sure? What happens if I unlock Chimera? I remembered old Hank talking about machines waking up and getting conflicting orders. It'll stop the conflicting orders here and wake up the systems, won't it? He smiled, seeming impressed. Sure. Here and everywhere. Word will go out. To let Chimera be accessed along the networks and allow any pony with the right access codes to use the files. I have no idea how far and wide those networks stretch, he admitted with a shrug of his shoulders, and then he frowned. Funny. Funny? What? Nothing. Just something familiar, he said as he stared into my eyes. It was I almost would have blushed if I could move. Just be careful. Once you open something, you can not always close it again. I wasn't very sure about that, but I needed a help scotch. This didn't sit well with me, though. Once I unlocked it, then it would stay unlocked. What would stop Sanguine from coming back in 10 years and starting all this back up again? I slipped out of Sats and looked at Sanguine sitting there. He looked like a corpse, not just the boiled appearance with his face half torn off. He looked dead. I wondered just where the line was between sane ghoul like Harpka and the many ferals I'd seen elsewhere, and just how close Sanguine was to crossing it. Sanguine? Those explosives? I pointed at the really big bombs on the pillars. What are they for? It took him a while to shake out of his fugue. If we ever lost containment, they would detonate, collapse this space, and focus the force of the primary explosion. He replied tiredly. Wait, those big explosives weren't for the primary explosion? Not sure it would do any good, but it was preferable to letting it loose. It? I asked with a frown. He gestured towards the round pillar in the center of the catwalk ring. I approached a short extension that stretched halfway across the void and looked up at the smooth face of the pillar. At the chimera carved into the face. Goat, lion, snake, all mixed and jumbled together. Written at the bottom of the strange mishmashed creatures were the words, Project Chimera. Suddenly I stiffened and felt as if a powerful hoof had suddenly pressed down on my mind. My hooves moved to walk me up to the very edge of the catwalk. The flickering numbers became even harsher. Flashes and glares disrupted my sight. Suddenly the room lit up. The pink mist had vanished, and below me whirred and clanked dozens of strange machines, filling up thousands of barrels with rainbow flux. My friends all disappeared, and I couldn't move or speak as Twilight Sparkle and Golden Blood walked up to stand together at the edge of the immense polished cylinder. Twilight wore a look of horror on her face as she looked up at the carving. No, she whispered softly. It can't be. You can turn back now, Twilight, Golden Blood murmured. Open it, she hissed. Right now. Twilight. Open it! Golden Blood sighed and spoke formally, and I felt my lips move with him as I spoke his words. Project Chimera containment open. Password A wonderful, wonderful thing. The immense pillar rumbled as motors within jerked to life. A moment later, there came a hiss and a crack. The top of the pillar slowly peeled open, unleashing a rainbow glare. I'd have shielded my eyes if I were capable at that moment. 2 panels swung wide open, while a third expanded downward from a bridge. My eyes adjusted to the light, and I saw it came from orbs embedded in the interior. I'd seen orbs like these before. A hoofful had utterly annihilated the Hoofington Museum. Here, a grid of dozens, perhaps thousands, were evenly spaced out in a foot-by-foot grid, covering the inner surface of the cylinder. Metallic hoses connected the pumps outside to the object in the center. Mounted on a small pedestal in the middle was a glittering silver statue of the strange creature I'd seen on the outside of the cylinder. It wore an expression of absolute terror, twisted as if it had frozen in that state. The detail was such that I almost swore it was alive. This is the basis for Project Chimera, the source of flux. This is what your IMP research is ultimately based upon. What causes the contaminations and mutations you've encountered time and time again. This is the secret that you wanted to know so badly, Goldenblood proclaimed as he gestured up at the silver statue. Discord, Twilight Sparkle whispered in horror, her eyes wide as she pressed her hooves to her mouth. Then, in a low, snide, nasally sounding voice, croaked in a condescending tone. Hello, Twilight Sparkle. Long time? No see. Footnote. Maximum level reached.